One.
Okay. Are we live? Pardon us for the folks on Facebook. We are facing some technical difficulties. So it is our first time going live on all 4 portals. A little bit ambitious, I know, but go big or go home, right? Like what they say. So pardon us for a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll get this going as soon as we can. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, IG.
Not yet.
We'll figure IG out eventually. But anyway, let's get started. Okay. So welcome everybody for our new segment that I thought to create for the right move, right? Because a lot of the content that I have been putting out focuses primarily on the private market, condos, landed. But I have always had a lot of questions about HDBs as well, and actually a good chunk of our clients are actually also HDB upgraders. So we thought, no better, why not, create this live session to answer and to talk about some of these HDB points, these talking points about HDB flats, okay? And to kind of make things a little bit more interesting so you don't always see my face and hear my voice. I have Kimberly with me today. Hello. Right? One of my associates, and we'll be swapping around the associates, right? You will be seeing Kim this week. We intend to do this live on a weekly basis, kind of also to force myself to put out content on a more regular basis, right? We'll be rotating between Kimberly and Victoria, who, if you can figure out the facial resemblance, are sisters of my wife Elizabeth. So they are my sister-in-laws who also happen to be my happen to also be my associates. Yeah. So let's get started, right? So how we're gonna do the live session? We're probably gonna change things up, switch things up a little bit as we go, try to improve it. But so for today's the first session, we're gonna talk about this recent article first. Moving on to sharing, like for those of you who follow us, you like us for our data-driven approach, a little bit of data that we have found for HDBs in the last, what was that period that the data was for? Last month.
For the last month
for the
of May.
month of May, right? We have all the data from the cheapest unit sold to the most expensive unit sold all over Singapore. We're going to share that with you later on. And we're going to end off with a case study, right? For a deal that we did last year, that we assisted a HDB upgrader to swap from a 4-room HDB to executive, right? We're going to share with you some of the pointers to note. What are some of the things to take note of, right, if you're looking to do something similar to yourself, yeah? And how we can make this a little bit more interesting and interactive is that at any point in time you have any questions, put it down into the comments. We'll try our best to answer them. If you are owning a flat, you want to check out your valuations. Similarly, put it into the comments. We are happy to share that with you, to help you find the valuation for that as well, right? So basically anything that you want to ask, just put it in the comments. We'll talk about that. Okay, so now let's get started. We're going to start off first with our article. And of course, I didn't take my water bottle. Then I make later you free, you help me take my water bottle. No, it's inside the orange color one. Anyway, yeah, sorry. Because this is going to be 1.5 hours of non-stop talking, I'm going to need my water with me. Okay. So we have a new Minister of National Development thanks to our elections, right? Mr. Chee Hong Tat, and he came in with perhaps a welcome news for the markets, yeah? That they are potentially looking to lift this 15 months wait-out period for private property owners looking to shift back to HDB, okay? So as of now, how the current rules stand is that if you are a private owner, you sell and you right size or you want to downsize to a HDB, if you're under 55 years old, regardless, you have to wait 15 months. If you're above 55 years old and you choose to buy a 4-room HDB, you don't have to wait. But if you want to buy a 5-room and above, you have to wait 15 months. Okay, a little bit of a backstory how this came about. They talked about it in the article a little bit, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing. So just snippets of it, the salient points, right? So why did it come about? Right, it's stated somewhere over here. Introduced in September 2022, right? And it was quite a big shock to all of us. And I must say, I'm going to put it out there, right? I thought the way they implemented it was very, very poor. Why? Okay. So we had a couple of deals ongoing at that point in time, Then the rule came up, bam, right smack at, I believe was 11 plus. Nowadays, cooling measure, they like to do it like right smack on the last minute of the day one, and then effective the next day. Last time they do it effective, they announced at 5 o'clock. Yeah, last time they announced it at 5 o'clock. What? Okay, yeah. They announced it at 5 o'clock, then there's a huge rush of people to try to buy things and do things before the midnight. But this time, nowadays, they do it like 11 o'clock, 11:59. So when they announced it, they did this very odd thing of saying whoever is eligible for the previous rule, they use the submission period. When they base it when you submit the transaction, which was very, very odd because there were people that exercised the option. So for those of you who are joining us, right, there is a period between when you exercise the option for your HDB flat and when you make the submission, and that period can stretch up to 60 days right? A lot of the times you can stretch up to 60 days. But the fact is that it has already been exercised and it's a done deal, but they see your submission date, and it left, actually at that point in time, it left 2 of our deals in limbo because it was exercised but we have yet to submit. And so all of us were like going crazy for like 1 whole week, trying to figure out what to do with all those things, writing into ministers, appealing and everything. And thankfully, after a week, they kind of backtracked on that and they decided to adopt exercise date in the end. But I would, generally, for those of you who follow the channel, you would feel that we are usually quite, for lack of better word, we think the government do a good job on a big scale, on general stuff, right? But for the implementation of that 15 months without, it was terrible. It was terrible. You put people through a lot of stress, okay? But yeah, so in a blink of an eye, 3 years already, okay? But why? Why was it in 2022 that they implemented it? I think a lot of people only see things on a surface level, but a lot of people maybe didn't see it one layer deeper than that. Maybe allow me to share this. So in 2022, right? Anyway, you want to put into the comments whether y'all can see it over here. Maybe quite hard, right? I zoom in a little bit more. Hopefully y'all can see. If cannot see, please let us know. Maybe you can send it into the chat or something, right? So during that period, in 2021, thanks to also COVID, thanks to the surge in demand after COVID, prices were surging 12.7%, 5.3%, right? Just in the first half of 2022, so double digit. The key thing over here is that you see double digit increase across either market, HDB or private, you sure get cooling measure one. Double digit is the key number for cooling measures to come, okay? And so they had to implement this measure. But a lot of people also didn't see. Actually, in 2021, they should have already done it. Because historically, right, once you cross double digit, the cooling measure will come. Why didn't they implement it after 2021? This was the reason. Right? So in this table indicates the number of HDB flats reaching its MOP by year. And you see in 2021, the number was about 25,000 units. 25,000 units. And they expected in 2022 that number to come up to 31,000. What does this mean? Right? They thought that with more supply coming into the market, prices would be more subdued, right? And so they didn't have to come in to cool the market. But then they noticed in the first half that things were not slowing down. Maybe slow down a little bit lah. Let's say 12.7% in 2021, you divide by 2 is 6.3, right? 6.35. That it should slow down. It did slow down slightly, but on track to still double digit. So they know that, hey, I better cool the market now. Why? Again, jumping back to this. Because after 2021, if you come into 2023, that number of MOP is going to be halved from 31,000 to 15,000. That would have created, for sure, if they didn't do anything, even higher. Because 25,000 was already 12, right? 12.7%. So if 2023 they didn't do anything with the numbers, essentially half of that numbers from 2021 and 2022, things would have gone crazy. So they knew they had to step in. Yeah, so I think this is kind of like behind the scenes using data to kind of explain the thing, why it was at that point in time and why not at 2021. This is what I think, right? What we think. So then, if you go through, I mean, these are really just talking about more of the figures of how, you know, when the cooling measures came, that the number of $1 million flats actually came off, the transaction volume came off 20%, 22% quarter on quarter after the implementation of those rules, the larger units. But it also went on to say, immediately after the end of the 15 months, right, that the figures caught back up again. Right? And I feel this is primarily, again, coming back to, you see how important tracking the numbers of HDB MOP flats are, right? Because the numbers came off, the supply came off. So the minute it exceeded the 15 months wait out, right? And it goes into a market that is very undersupplied due to the low MOP numbers, prices shoot up again, okay? And that kind of explains everything that's written in this article, right? So now, fast forward to today, right? Falling supply of MOP flats. Okay, noted that the supply of MOP flats have been decreasing since 2022, and that the limited supply has likely caused prices to rise continuously over the past years, right? This year, 2025 in particular, very, very low numbers, about 8,000. Very, very low numbers. So my guess is that in 2025, unlikely that this will change, right? When, right? Lowest in 10 years, but it will go up to 13,000 in 2026. So I feel the earliest that they will change it is also in 2026 for those of you who are watching, who are trying to guess when. So if you want to buy something in 2025, I think you still have to go by the old rules. Or if you're already waiting, then you might as well wait until 2026. There's a chance, okay? And I think the rest of it is really talking about also the ample supply of BTO coming in to help supplement the market with supply. So now that we have ample supply in MOP and ample supply in resale, right? That will help hold back the prices, allowing them to kind of lift this rule. Because there was a point in time, right, where I thought this rule would never go away, you know, because the prices so sticky, right? And because also they implement the prime and the plus flats rules, right? Driving a lot of demand into the resale in the central areas because people don't want to buy the 10-year MOP, right? Then it keeps the prices so high, keeps it sticky. I thought you were never gonna remove it. They turn a temporary measure into a permanent measure, something like our cooling measures, right? Our ABSD, when they first came out, everybody thought temporary only. Prices come off, they will take it off. But in the end, today, we have 20% ABSD from 3% at the start, yeah? But I know, I personally feel, right, coming into, let's say, 2026 next year, and this is something that we've been telling our clients also, right? In HDBs, likely next year we're going to see prices start to come off. And that's also, this brings us nicely into the next part of our presentation, or the next part of it, right, which is talking about the data to things, okay? So, now, talking about the data, right? Maybe Kim can touch on the first point.
Okay, so I think maybe I'll just touch a little bit on the data itself, okay? So just go through with you guys a little bit, all right? So if you can see over here on this Excel that we have, okay? We've actually categorized all the different HDBs into the different HDB estates over here, lah, right? So you have all 26 of them from Ang Mo Kio all the way to Yishun, if you can see it, okay? I'll just zoom out a little bit, so at least you can see a little bit more of an overview first. All right, so essentially it's all of these over here. Okay, we have data points for the 3 rooms, 4 rooms, 5 rooms, as well as the executive, which are both your mansionettes, your apartments, as well as any multi-gen apartments as well. Okay, and if you see all these over here, what do all the color code means? Okay, the green color ones are those that are 700,000 and below. All right. Then we have the yellow ones over here. These are 700 to 999,000. And then of course your red ones are your $1 million and above prices lah. Alright, so if you can see over here, okay, all these we've got median and then we've got the highest of the estate as well. Okay, so we've actually went to really go and look at the data, and so what does this mean for us, okay? So this is for the month of May, right, as we mentioned earlier, okay? Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so I am actually going to zoom in to Tampines, all right? So if we see Tampines over here, because if you see the volumes here, okay, you'll notice that Tampines is actually one of the highest transacted HDB estate in the entire of Singapore, right? So we have 207 transactions alone for the month of May. Okay, so I'll just go back to this over here. So what does that mean for us? Okay, so over here, all right, the 3-room median price, which is this 400,000 over here, this is the middle tier pricing over here. And if you look at the 4-room high, which is already crossing $1 million, $1,015,000, okay, already crossed the $1 million mark, all right. And then of course, when we look at the executive over here, also, I won't say it's cheap, right? Already 930,000 for the median, over $1.1 million for the highest transaction as well in Tampines itself. So this high transaction volume with a moderate to high pricing suggests that Tampines actually offers a pretty sweet spot of what? Of desirability, of affordability, as well as available inventory, essentially your supply, right? So there's enough supply to offer the buyers the availability as well as what they might like in terms of, you know, the mature estate, having a desirable location, transportation links, amenities, as well as schools. So attracting a pretty wide range of buyers over here.
And so first of all, right, if you like a copy of this sheet, I mean, first of all, we extracted this from the HDB website. So it's publicly available information, but if you want a quick and easy way to analyze it on your own, if you want to do so, just drop us a text. We have our numbers. It's going to be somewhere in whatever you're looking at, right? Ticker, I think there's a ticker on top, and there should be something over there. Reach out to us, happy to send it over to you. Yeah, we're gonna put it in a likely a Google Drive link to share with everybody. And this is specific for the month of May, right? And so while we are doing the live on every week, this information from HDB will only be refreshed every month. So on the first live of every month, we'll go through this data. And it's not quite meaningful to see it on a static, like one data point basis. So on the next month, we will reference to this data, and we'll be able to share with you a little bit more detail on the variance and the changes, which districts are seeing actual changes month to month in terms of their price points on the median, on the high. Personally, if I were looking to buy or sell a unit, right, we can consider looking at the median if you are open to areas. right? At least you look at the medium price points and then you can say, hey, this one is a little bit more of what my budget is at, right? So as we can see over here, if you have a more limited budget, you are looking at places such as Woodlands for 3 rooms. I still can buy under 400,000. If you want under 350,000, you'll go to somewhere like Geylang,
Jurong West as well.
Jurong West, right? Historically, some of the lower priced areas lah, but if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, you can consider some of the higher priced ones. Surprisingly, Choa Chu Kang is above 500,000 already. We can even hit 628,000 for the 3-room flat over at Choa Chu Kang. So yeah, right? Good for those of you who are looking to buy a HDB flat, right? Something for you to reference it to. If you are also looking to sell your house, how do you utilize this sheet? If your house is priced on the upper ranges, meaning between median to high point, then you need to also try to figure out and try to think whether or not are you priced correctly, which is why we offer valuation checks, right? So put into the comments, if you want to text us also, you can text us. If not, you can put into the comments where you are currently staying at and what kind of prices. I think somebody is commenting on TikTok. Oh, okay. Then we'll see the question.
I want to buy at Tampines Street 91. How much would it cost?
Oh, okay. We'll search it out for you later, live.
Yes.
Okay? And so thanks for the comments. We'll come to that right after we cover this. Right after we cover this. Tampines, right? Tampines, in my opinion, is I've said this before and I'll say it again, right? It's a marketing masterclass on HDB's part, okay? Because actually, if you look at the size of Tampines, it is huge, okay? I think the number of flats I can't recall, but it's as good as Amore, Bishan, Toa Payoh add together one. So if they really have wanted to, they by right should be able to carve it up into different estates one. But they didn't, right? What they did instead, right, was to call it Tampines North, Tampines South, Tampines East, Tampines West, Tampines Central. Everything wrapped under Tampines, right? Versus they create a separate estate on their own, and then have to start to market it again as a brand new estate. I mean, somewhere like Bidadari, everybody knows is central already, doesn't really matter, right? But if you are something like Tampines that is already very far out, you want to start to market a totally new area. Something like Tengah. Tengah, they cannot tag to anywhere else. That's why Tengah has like a Ulu rep to it. So they don't want to have to do that also on the east side. So they tag everything under Tampines. So like Tampines North actually closer to Pasir Ris MRT, but they say Tampines, right? So I feel it's a marketing masterclass, right? But also on a data perspective, then it obviously Tampines and Sengkang, who is the second highest ones, right, will appear like they always have the highest transactions, okay? So while that is a good indication, if let's say you want to stay in Tampines Central, you need to probably dive into greater, a little bit extra detail, okay? Now, next observation that we have seen, right, is that the top transaction volume estates are located in the non-central areas. Yeah, non-central areas, as you can see, right? Tampines 200, Sengkang 188, Yishun, all the further out areas, right? Right, we said Tampines, Hougang also, right? Probably the most central located of all, right? None of the high-priced central regions like Bukit Timah, Queenstown, all those, right, appear in the high-volume list, right? This goes to show, right, there's probably a disconnect between what the prices of people are asking for and how much people are willing to pay. That's why, right, all transactions are willing seller, willing buyer. So if the seller is calling for a very high price, the buyer not willing to pay, then there's going to be then no transaction, then doesn't transact to volume, right? So also what this goes to show, right, we can see, right, in areas like Bukit Timah, Marine Parade, the central area, Bishan, all this, right? Of course, we have outliers like Pasir Ris and Jurong East, right? Like Bishan, all this, right? A lot of the time, central area, which is like also your Queenstown area, all this, right? What we see is a very high asking prices and, you know, very high COV numbers. So hopefully with all the measures and whatnot, and next year the MOP numbers coming up, right, that gap is breached, and then we're going to see month to month how these numbers start to move, lah. Yeah? The next one that we want to talk about is Pongo. Okay? So, Pongo stands out for its high volume, right? We have very, very high volumes in Pongo. Because we're, again, a very, very big estate, right? This also suggests, right, last time people always try to avoid Pongo one. But nowadays, I have actually buyers coming in to say, I want Pongo, right? Because there's the Pongo, number one, there's the transformation. Number two, that Pongo is already becoming somewhat mature. It used to be ulu, but now it's mature. But the only thing is super crowded, Pongo. It's just super crowded all over. But yet people want it. And some of the schools over there are becoming quite good also, very, very sought after, right? So as one of Singapore's newest towns, but what I think what the government has done very well is to create a very nice lifestyle in Pongo, okay? Is that better? Am I blocking? Okay, that's better. So I'm gonna lean back again, right? So I think Pongo is a very interesting story, right? In my personal opinion, when I first started 10 years back, Pongo HDB flats very hard to sell, right? But now more and more so, Pongo has, I would say, some of the most unique HDB flats around. Especially if you look at our channel, some of the flats that we sold in Pongo, Pongos are one of its kind, right? And so if you want to stay, if you want to buy something in Pongo, right, it offers also a great range, as you can see over here, of prices. Right? We have 3 rooms at 521, which is a little bit on the higher side if you compare to the rest. Okay? The 4 room is also a little bit on the higher side if you look at the median prices. Right? And the 4 rooms already hit the 1 million, price point. But the 5 room, I feel, is not too bad in terms of the price points at 700 over 1,000. You see 5 rooms, the range a lot now. The lowest of which is about 620,000. Then the median, the middle range, and I'm comparing across estates, the middle ones are about 700. 800 and above will be slightly on the higher side already. So in my opinion, Pongo represents decent value for 5 rooms. 5 rooms, still decent value. Even the high 5 rooms at 1 million is also not too bad. We have a lot higher ones. Of course, once you go the more central areas, it's a lot higher than the 5 rooms at Pongo already, Okay, so now come back to the question, right? Is this the question that we want to answer?
Tampines Street 91, is it?
Tampines Street 91. Oh, yes. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is our first live of what we hope to achieve as a weekly live session covering solely on HDB, the HDB market, HDB upgraders, HDB to HDB, right? This week we are doing it on Wednesday. Next week we're going to do it on Tuesday. Yeah. And help us like and share so that more people can benefit from it. And if you want valuation checks or like what we're going to do right now is a live search for what's good value in the market. Put down your questions that you have, any questions at all, into the chat and we will help to address them. So now for the comment by who?
Yeah.
Brian. Varun. Okay, so for Varun, let's see. You want Tampines, what?
Street 91.
Tampines Street 91. So, over here, 3-room flat, 678,000. Usually what I do is this, rank from the lowest price. We have a 2-room, right? 2-room will be 495, 500. But if you go to a 5-room, this is a 4-room, 4A, right? 678, all the way up to 750, 800,000. So as cheap as 500,000, right? Now this is a 3i. Which type is this? Let me see. This should be a 3i. Corner units are not too bad. Yep, it's the slightly older 3A unit. Quite not bad actually. This one, once you see this means it's a corner unit. Lease is a bit old, from 1984. Okay, but if you have limited budget, I think this represents great value for money, because if you look at our table, right, in terms of the median price points, for Tampines, well under the, sorry, 3-room. It's thereabouts at the median price point of the 3 rooms in the Tampines area. Yeah, so if it's 3-room. Anyway, Varun, if you're still there, maybe you can let us know is it 3-room or 4-room? 4-room, quite a bit more expensive once you want to go to 4-room. Yeah, 4-room will have to be 678,000 already, the cheapest one. Median price for 4-room hovers at 648. So I feel these prices are thereabouts pretty fair. Give it a bit of room for negotiations. They are priced very, very close to the median price points. Okay, so if any one of you that's watching want us to review it, this is how we want to do it. We'll share with you some, and we'll tell you whether it's fair price or not, comparing to some of the median prices. Yeah, if you have a specific address, you want to ask us whether it's a right price or not, you are a seller, right? Feel free to drop it into the text, okay? Now, with that done, right, we want to move on to talk about a case study, okay? So, Kimberly will cover this case study with us. It's
the link.
It's on a sheet, right?
Yeah, a Google sheet.
Okay, hang on.
Give us a moment, yeah.
Let me share on the sheet. Actually, we just plug into yours.
Okay. Okay, let's see. All right, and we're back. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit for you guys, okay? Okay, if there's anyone new joining us, welcome. So every week we will be doing a TikTok live, okay? So as what we did previously as well, okay? What we'll do each week, we'll talk about a news article, a trending news HDB article, and then we'll look at some data points for the month, and then we'll talk about a case study as well, which will be what I'll be diving into. And please do help us like and share as well. It will be very grateful for your support. All right, okay, so for my case study that I'll be sharing today, okay, this was a sell and buy, 1-for-1, all right? All right, a little bit bigger, is it?
Much
okay.
bigger.
Can see better, yeah? If y'all can't see, please let us know in the comments as well. Thank you. Okay, so this case study, it was a sell a HDB, buy back a HDB. But before that, so the background of this client, they came to us back in 2023 actually, okay? They were about to hit their MOP already in the Bukit Batok area, okay? They had a 4-room, so they were looking to sell. And then of course, they didn't know what was their future plan, right? Which might be quite common for some of you guys as well, okay? So sell already, then buy what? So we went to explore the options with them. They were open to looking at a private as well. But one thing about this client was that our client had this thing called a debt repayment scheme. So with a debt repayment scheme, you can't actually take a loan with the bank. So that was one of the challenges that we faced. All right?
They were initially open to consider either a private upgrade. Actually, they wanted a private upgrade first and foremost, to elevate their assets and those kind of things. Yep. So that was the first touch point for us, right? But after asking a little bit of questions, we realized that they were actually under the debt repayment scheme. Yep. So what happens when you have a debt repayment scheme? Essentially, it makes it very, very hard for you to take loan from a bank. Okay. But the good news is that with that repayment scheme, you can still take a loan from HDB, right? And which brings me to a point right? Which is a lot of people, they want to lean to HDB as HDB loan immediately when they want to straight away go and get the HDB loan. But in our life, we only get, as a Singaporean, 2 chances to take a HDB loan. And that also becomes somewhat of your eligibility lah. So either 2 chance for HDB loan or 2 chance for subsidized housing. Okay? And if you ask me, I have actually said this to a couple of clients. You might want to keep one of that chances as a real backup chance for you, right? So a lot of people, when they enter into the journey of buying HDB or maybe HDB to HDB, right? The first one, usually they will start with BTO, subsidized house. Then a lot of the times, once they reaching the MOP, they want to very quickly use their second subsidized house again. Number one issue is that you have to pay the resale levy. But actually, a second issue that I see is this: that you are utilizing up a lot of your bullets at one go and at the start of your life. I want to turn the narrative around a little bit, right, for those of you. And this is something that we've been sharing with our clients also. Think about it as pushing this eligibility all the way back. Here's the thing. If you use the 2 subsidized house so close to one another, right, number one, most likely at that point when you're taking a second subsidized house, is either if you can afford, or if you still qualify, you get very, very little subsidy, right? I mean, if you get full subsidy, most likely you cannot afford, right? But if you can afford, you are most likely just nice under the bracket, kind of. So no, very little subsidy. So some of the suggestions I have for my clients is that you use this option all the way at the back. So HDB, BTO, look to upgrade already, then upgrade again. For example, upgrade. Or if you want to buy resale, right? Or you want to, which is what we suggested for this client, buy resale, right? Then don't utilize your subsidized house things unless absolutely necessary, like this case, fall under debt repayment scheme, cannot take private loan, then you take your HDB. Had they utilized both of their eligibility right at the start, then they'll be stuck already. You have the needs and requirements to get a bigger house, but you cannot get a bank loan, so then what? I think worst case is third HDB loan, which the interest rates is very, very high and you need to appeal for it, right? So long story short, keep your second eligibility as a backup, as a retirement plan. You could always upgrade, or even change from HDB, resale. At the end, when you retire, no income, take maximum subsidy, then you retire and you right size down, which is something that we have planned for a few of our clients already. They sell, they right size back down, sell private, right size back down to resale HDB, right? Stay in that resale HDB for 5 years, and then you become eligible for subsidized house again, right? Either a BTO or even a EC, right? And then that is where your asset goes up like that, comes down, and then you can see a bump again right at the end. And that leaves a nice little nest egg to leave behind for your kids, if you are the kind that like. Or you get that bump right at the end, that bump up, you could always sell and right size back down again, giving you a little bit of extra cash for retirement should you live for an extended period of time. Okay, so this was one of the points I wanted to add, because I mean, nobody hopes to fall under the DRS, but things in life happen, and we also understand that, right? So this is one of the things why we highlighted and why we chose this particular case study, despite it having happened almost 1.5 years ago already, right? Some of these challenges that we've seen, and we thought is a kind of good thing to share with the market. Okay, so debt repayment scheme being the first thing.
Yeah. Okay. And then other challenges also, some of which were they tenanted out 2 rooms, okay, to different tenants. So I think with that makes viewing a little bit harder, because you have to coordinate a little bit more, not only with just one person, one owner, but you have to coordinate with 2 other separate individuals as well. All right, and also condition of the unit. I guess in a way they knew that they wanted that it wasn't their forever home, one thing, right? So renovation wise, it was also kept to bare minimum, and parts of the units also were not that well maintained. Probably, maybe because it was also tenanted out, right? So, you know, sometimes tenants, they don't really take care of your property that well. So also one good thing to note is you need to be careful of who you get as your tenants, right? So one important thing to note next time if you want to rent out your place as well. Okay, and lastly, okay, they did not want to fork out extra cash, right? So it's essentially from their sale, whatever equity they had from their CPF, from their sales proceeds, whatever profits that they made, whatever equity, it will just be moved forward into the purchase as well, okay? So that was some of the things that we had to work with for this sell one, buy one, okay?
I think there was one more point that we didn't add was that the hubby is self-employed as a freelance videographer also, right? So he, basically his income didn't really help a lot in the loan that he could potentially take, right? So actually a lot of challenges that time when we took up the case, but thankfully, right? And this one maybe we can share it with the consumers lah. It really doesn't matter the challenges that you face. What is more important is that it is a open relationship lah. That these challenges are shared transparently with the agent, with your agent, and then they know how to help. Right, you don't keep things aside like the DRS, like self-employed, all these kind of things. These are some of the most important things that you should be sharing with your agent when you're doing financial calculation. Because you don't want to, after you sell the house, then you realize that you cannot take the loan to buy. Wow, then jialat already. Okay, so be as transparent as you can. Of course, understandably, some of these things are a little bit touchy, don't want to share so much, but you know, if you really want to do it, you have the want to do it, right? These are the kind of things that you should and have to share with your agent at the get-go, right? So self-employed, all the time, right? You need to do your loan early. Okay, because you don't know, right? Different banks have different requirements. Self-employed have to do 2 years. They have to see your NOA. Some of the income they don't consider all those kinds of things, right? So if you are self-employed and you're looking to do anything to your property, make sure you do the loan beforehand. Speak to a mortgage broker. Speak to an agent. A lot of the times, actually, you might want to speak to an agent or a mortgage broker before you speak to a banker, because sometimes bankers can be quite busy, and if they feel that you are not super ready to do anything, they may not help you as promptly or that promptly, right? Especially if you send your inquiry through the bank. But mortgage brokers and agents, they are more incentivized to help you, right? So if you're doing this kind of financial checks, agents and mortgage brokers are perhaps the one that you should approach first, okay? Yeah, so challenges are very normal to have, right? It's then how do you tackle them and how do you solve the problems and the challenges, right? So the needs and requirements, bigger place, don't want to fork out cash. So we have this framework that we use that Kim can share a little more.
Okay, so this, as you guys can't really see, huh? Okay, I bring it up a little bit. Okay?
Okay, so we don't want to keep the comments waiting. So YouTube, some of you are asking questions, right? So that you don't have to stay too long, right? I love your mom is asking, right? Looking at Pongo 2, what do you think of ECs at Pongo, especially the Amore site? Honestly, I think they offer great value for money.
You want to plug in or go from here?
It's okay. You could show. We had clients. I had someone speak to me that actually bought. We have clients in Waterwoods. They have continued to do pretty well. River Isles is not an EC, but River Bay did very, very well. I believe you should be looking at easily $300,000 to $400,000 profit had you bought just 3 years back. I just had a call with a client earlier today. They bought the Vales at 1.3 million. In 2021, today is valued at about 1.65 million. Okay, so if you are looking at the Amore price points,
Waterwoods.
No, the Amore.
Amore, huh?
Yeah. So if you're looking at Amore, price points now are at, let me see, 1 million for a 2-bedder, 1 million for a 2-bedder is not terribly cheap lah. I will try to bump myself up a little bit. 1.45 for a 3-bedder, 990 square feet. Very good deal. Very good deal. I believe you're gonna get rentals at least 3,500 for that. Yeah. 4-bedder at how much?
2M.
4-bedder at 2M may be a little bit steep. I think you have options at 1.8M if you go over to the Sengkang side lah. Yeah. The 3-bedders at 1.45, that is very cheap.
Yeah.
But this one likely to be lower floor.
Yeah.
Hey, Marcus, maybe my friend, lower floor. But 1.78 will be a good price. I think a cheaper alternative to Amore may be River Park. Kim, you can go River Park. C. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Correct. River Park and Waterwoods should be slightly cheaper. Oh, this is very big lah. This one is very big. We scroll down a little bit. Because they are larger in size, so about 2 over million. But if this price, this quantum, still okay, Amore will be a better. Amore is slightly. So River Park is a bit bigger. So if you want a bit bigger, you go to River Park. Yeah, down.
2M.
Yeah, so slightly bigger size. So just now I think Amore was 1227 also.
For 4-bedder.
For 4-bedder. But this one you get a 3-bedder. So River Park sizes are a little bit bigger. Yeah, this is penthouse lah, so doesn't matter. 4-bedder.
4-bedder, 2.1.
Yeah, so the 4-bedder prices have come up quite a fair bit. I think that camera off. Those of you on YouTube, pardon us. I think you can still hear us. Let us get our camera running again. But we'll continue on TikTok first. We are still on TikTok, right? Battery is out. Yeah, then replace the battery. Yeah, give us a while. Let us replace the battery, okay? Waterwoods, you go to Waterwoods to see.
Waterwoods.
Yeah, I love your mom. Rivera MRT coming up. So River Park, Waterwoods, those areas, I like them quite a fair bit lah. Yeah, I like them quite a fair bit. River Park layouts are not bad. Quality of finishes are a bit iffy, but if you can spend a bit on renovations, you can replace the laminate floorings and whatnot. Yeah. Okay. Lish, will private prices keep going up about 100K a year? Let me see. I think it really have to depend on what are the quantum that you are looking at. Because if you are saying 100K on 1 mil, then that's 10% increase year on year. I think that's a bit tough. But of course, if it's on 2 mil, then it's 0.5 per 100K on 2 mil, 5%. So it really depends on how much. So maybe if I can answer you on a percentage basis, that will be easier, right? Historically, it should be about 2 to 3% per year historically over the last 10 years. Okay. This year, the percentage, if you watch my predictions video, and maybe my guys can put it into the chat. David, if you are there, help me put into the chat the link for the predictions video. Okay. I predict that this year the price increments will slow down, right, for private, right, because the MOP numbers are quite low. MOP numbers have a direct correlation with private price increments, okay? And private price increments, why? Because HDB MOP upgraders they are the delta, right, the extra demand into the market. We are back. Okay, the extra demand into the market right? So with MOP numbers this year being low, private prices should go up at a slower rate. That is good news if you are looking to upgrade, right? This year is perhaps a good year. Why? Because next year as MOP numbers come up, if you own a HDB, right? If you own a HDB, the chances are your HDB prices may taper off or come down slightly, but the private prices should up, right? So if you are looking to upgrade, HDB to private, I believe this year is a good year, right? Next year, private prices might have a higher percentage of increase. I think that may be a more relevant way to answer Licia's question, okay? Okay, great. I hope I answered your question. Keep the rest of the questions coming.
Yeah.
Do we have questions on other portals? If not, we can continue.
Yeah.
Continue
And,
if you
yeah.
yeah.
And I
Continue with case
think
study.
just to Tian as well on YouTube, yeah, sorry about that. If you have your questions and you're still here, please keep your comments coming as well lah. Okay, so I'll just go back to, yes, the case study. So,
And the framework.
yes, so earlier on we touched on the challenges, okay? So we have this framework that we usually use with our buyers, okay? So LGPS, what does that mean?
You increase the font size. Can you increase the font size?
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, you highlight it and you increase the font size.
Yeah. Okay, better?
Yes. Okay.
Good. Okay. So LGPS. Okay. So for any of you guys watching as well, if you are intending to purchase, you might want to consider using this as well. Okay. So what does that mean? L, it stands for location. Okay. So location. I need to increase the font size for this too. Wait, bear with me. Location, right? And then G we have is growth. P, price, and then S, size, okay? So location, so this is usually some of the things, some of the considerations, the factors that buyers look for when purchasing a place, their next place, or maybe even upgrading or downgrading, whichever, right? So location, what is your ideal location? Perhaps maybe you're locating because of school, maybe locating because you want to be nearer to your parents, nearer to your kids. That is location. And then growth, we're talking more about a capital appreciation sort of thing, okay? You want to see growth in your asset in terms of price, that sort of thing. Sorry, and then we have P as well, which is price. So obviously with price, you know, is this within your budget? Okay, so we're talking a lot about budget. And then of course size, right? So some people, they upgrade because they want to move into a bigger place, maybe from a 3-room to a 4-room, 4-room to a executive, something like that. Or even you want to downgrade. So maybe some of your retirees out there perhaps, right? From a 5 rooms, your children have all left already, got married, moved out. So maybe you want to downgrade to something a little bit smaller, a 3-room instead, so that of course you don't need to upkeep so much as well, right? So LGPS, okay, this is our framework.
So
yes.
how do we utilize this particular framework, okay, to help? To help put it up so my head doesn't block.
Oh God.
Yes. Okay. So how do you utilize this framework? Okay, it's not asking you to list down all these points, all right? Because everybody will have their laundry wish list of all these points, right? You want the best location with the highest growth potential at the cheapest price at the bigger size, right? The purpose and how to utilize this, and then maybe I can elaborate a little bit on how we utilize and how we use this to help this particular client solve the challenges, right, stated above. So, first thing to do, write this down. What is your ideal look? Not write it down. Okay, you can write it down, and then you should rank it. Which one is the most important to you, right? Which one is the most important to you? Is it location? Is it growth? Is it price? Is it size? This can be used for HDB, can be used for private. How I come up with this? Of course, I didn't come up with this, but I learned this from some of my colleagues as well, but I realized it was very, very useful. It's that a lot of the times when people get stuck, it's also because we notice that the husband and the wife have different rankings, right? The wife is looking at size, for example, in a particular location, but the husband is looking at growth potential for a cheaper budget. So the wife can have a ranking of say 1, 2, then 3.
Oops. Hold on. Okay.
1, 2, then maybe
Then 3 and 4
3,
lah.
4 lah. Then the husband can have a ranking of 1,
1,
right? 2,
2,
3,
3.
4
4.
lah, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you watching face this problem also, but this is something that I noticed, right? So it's something that we will do or we do with our clients actually at the get-go. Is the more important thing is to align this, because without aligning this, it's very hard to move forward. Yeah. So thankfully for this particular client, they were at least quite aligned in terms of what they were looking for, husband and wife, right? Their ranking was location. One of their main purpose to move is to move closer to either of their parents to help look after the kids, right? But I think more importantly is the size, right? No, actually the most important is price. Budget was the most important because they didn't want to fork out extra money. So budget was actually number 1, right?
I would say something like this.
Something
if you
like
guys
that,
can
right?
see it.
You increase the
Increase, yeah.
So in terms of our case study, you will notice that we will start to touch on all these points again, right? We will utilize these points to talk about the case study so that you can, in a way, utilize it for yourself as well, right? And once this becomes like that, it's very, very, very clear. So the first thing we need to tackle is the finances, which we will show you later on how we did it for them, right? And then what is the kind of units to look out for, right? 4 rooms, so 5 room or executive. Thankfully, with a bit of luck, we actually managed to even go one level higher than 5 room. We managed to get into an executive. But as with everything, it's always a toss-up, right? You give up on something in exchange for another thing. So what did they give up on? Later on, we will talk about it as well, right? So we managed to achieve the size, right? Very focused. Location, while it's important, as long as close to either of their parents. And thankfully or luckily in their sense, their parents stay Jurong West, which is luckily a slightly more affordable area, right? And they really wasn't so bothered about growth potential, right? So they could go for something that's a little bit older, not so near to the MRT, that kind of thing, right? This was an extremely needs-based move, which is totally okay as well, right? Not everybody is moving to make profits and that kind of stuff. And this is also one of the reasons why I want to start doing more content like this as well, because a lot of my other contents are very profit-driven, asset progression-driven. But I want to also put it out there that we do stuff like that as well, right? Needs-based move, just to help you move on and meet your needs for your family. Okay. So now let's take a look at the finances on how this is going to be done, and then also we'll share with you some of the timeline things and what to look at for timelines also.
I think also just wanted to touch a little bit on the 3 challenges and how we managed to solve them, because I don't think we actually did that previously. Okay, so with the DRS, with the debt repayment scheme, is of course we, as Alvin mentioned, right? So we utilized their second subsidized housing and got a HDB loan instead. So that solved one of our first challenges already. Okay, condition of the unit, we actually got a handyman to come in as well, okay? So that is also one of the services that we provide, okay? Usually we'll come in to have a look at your unit, okay? If there is any decluttering that needs to be done, we will get that done for you. If there's any touching up in terms of, maybe painting of the wall or minor touch-ups here and there, we will also get that sorted for you. So that was what we did for this client of ours, okay? And of course, with the tenanted unit, we also touched up the room to make it, look a little bit nicer, and all that lah. So we managed to solve that second challenge as well. Did not want to fork out more cash, no problem. We just need to work within the budget, right? Based on the equity that they have from their sale, and then we just translate that into the purchase as well. And with the hubby being self-employed, I think one very good thing was the wife actually had a pretty decent income lah, right? And because, they are on a HDB loan as well, so that actually helped things out a lot as well. So all in all, pretty good. Managed to overcome all these challenges listed out over here. And then based on their preferred, based on their budget, they want to upgrade and their desired location, then we sold and then bought a place for them, okay? So I'll go into that. Alright, so finances wise, so these are more or less the actual figures, okay? So for the sales side, can you guys see? Just let me know, okay? If not, I can zoom in for you as well. Valuation wise, so this was at Bukit Batok, a 4-room, so $607,000 lah. Okay, just for fun, right? Let's compare that to what we saw earlier in terms of the prices for Bukit Batok.
But of course, this is a bit
correct.
Older, one year
correct.
from now. You
Yes.
need to zoom in
You
quite
zoom
a fair
in a
bit
bit. Okay. So Bukit Batok over here, right? For 4-room median, that is 540,000 now. Okay, the high would be 805,000. So not bad, right? I mean, this is a newly MOP unit as well, so very new, so 607,000, so slightly above that 4-room median lah, right? Not bad, quite value. Okay.
But I think one thing to add, right? I think this one needs to zoom in more as well. Yeah. I think you increase the size.
The size.
Yeah. So yeah, while Kim is increasing that to help you all see things a little bit better, I want to talk a little bit about this pricing thing. My head is right smack in the middle of that. Let me shift.
Can I?
Yes. Okay. And I'll just sit like that while we're going through the numbers. Whatever. Lost. Okay. On pricing. Yeah. Of course, I think everybody hopes to fetch the highest price, right? Which is why once it's important to kind of align, especially for ourselves, right? Align the expectations with the clients, right? So what's the client's main needs and requirements, okay? 607 was thereabouts at valuation price, but bearing in mind, this was during a period just nice at MOP. A lot of the other neighbors were looking for a lot higher price than them, okay? But which is why we are very thankful for clients who are more aligned or have the expectation, have the basically the right expectation and right motivations to move forward. So for them, to them, the difference between, let's say, a 607 versus a 610, 615, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Because why? Their main objective is to move forward with their home. And because they are looking to get a slightly bigger place, if we were to hold out for the extra 10, 15,000 for them, they may have to end up paying easily 30, 40, $50,000 more for the house that they are looking to buy. And we are thankful that they agreed with us on that. And so what we did when we took the listing was to price it competitively to move, because I think we managed to show it in, despite the condition, tenanted unit, 2 rooms tenanted out, that kind of condition, right? Sold it in about
2 months.
2 months, right? 2 months. I think less than 10 viewings.
Yeah.
Less than 10 viewings managed to sell already. So any kind of house also can sell one. It's about the price. It's about the price. And more importantly, it's about being aligned with what's the goal moving forward, right? If that's aligned, the LGPS is done properly, we can find the right thing for you to buy. Because basically what they did was to compromise a little bit, about $10,000, I believe, from the original price that they're hoping to get. But we managed on the buy side, which Kim will touch on right after this, right? Got a lot better deal for them over here, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you guys can see over here, right? Valuation came out to be price they sold at is 607. Okay. So no COV, and then after minusing off all the loans, the accrued interest from CPF and whatnot, okay, cash proceeds about $236,000 lah. Okay, so over here, all right, this is the equity that they had. So including the CPF amount, as well as including the cash proceeds. So this is whatever that would be translated into the purchase side over here. Okay, so as mentioned, right, the wife has a pretty decent income, even though hubby has a self-employed income over here. Okay, so loan actually not a problem in the end. All right, so translating that into the purchase. So we actually Jurong West, right? So they wanted to upgrade the space. So in the end, we found a executive mansionette for them. So another thing about this client is they were aligned in what they wanted. They were clear on what they wanted, and very decisive as well. I think I took them maybe about a couple, 3 weekends of viewings and whatnot, and then they set their mind on it already, okay? So price was one thing, right? Size was one thing. We only saw the executives near their parents' place, okay? So very clear on what they wanted, all right? So $740,000, this is your second HDB loan, okay? So one thing to note for HDB loan as well is that you can actually pay your down payment on CPF. Okay, whereas for a bank loan, you won't be able to do that lah. So that's just one thing that maybe wanted to highlight to you guys. All right, they use their proximity grant, cause near to their parents, and also, okay, because it is their second HDB loan, there's actually this thing where you have to take your cash proceeds from your sale to actually offset the loan. So that was, okay, $120,000 or so from that $230,000 cash proceed to offset the loan, and they decided to use all their remaining CPF to reduce their loan as well, so as to reduce that monthly mortgage repayment. Okay.
One thing to note on what Kim said earlier, based on the new rules for HDB loan, you also still have to put down 5% in cash for the new rules, right? This was when it was the previous rule that only actually 100% CPF lah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then moving on to the timeline over here.
On the prices, just to note, right, you can flash. Since we are referencing to the median prices, right, we got the clients, the unit at 740,000.
Yeah.
So notice the interesting thing over here, right, is that they just top up 140,000. They top up 140,000 to go from a, I think it's a bit small, they top up, you zoom in a bit, 140,000 to go from a 4-room to an executive, okay? The median price, if you refer to, we don't need to skip, you can refer to the sheet. The median price for a Jurong West executive today is $850,000. Okay? Yeah. So, had we, coming back to my main point on price is important and being aligned in what you're hoping to get is important, right? Essentially, with them being very practical about it, right? Cutting maybe about $10,000 of the sale price to move the unit quicker, they managed to secure something at $740,000. Today, if you are just matching that to the median prices of executive condominium, executive apartments in Jurong West, they are sitting on 100K profit. So with all transactions, with a seller and a buyer, it's always important to look at two sides lah. Yeah, don't be too overly focused on that net price or that one price that you want to get, especially HDB prices, because the minute they turn south and they start trending downwards, which we have seen before in 2013 to 2018, that can come off quite fast. And while you're hoping and holding on to the extra $5,000, $10,000, you're missing out on the next better purchase. So we are very thankful for the trust that this client has put in us to want to say very focused, okay, we move forward, let's look at what we want to buy. If we can get to them, most important, once the finances match, we are ready to move forward, right? But in exchange for that, being able to get to this executive at below medium price points, right? They had to give up one thing. So it's important to know what you have to give up, what you can give up to get in return for this, right? So good price means what? With everything, right, it's always time versus money lah. It's a toss-up between time versus money, which we want to look at the timeline now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we'll go back to the point that Alvin made earlier, that he just made, okay? But so just to very quickly run through HDB timeline, okay, just in case any of you guys are new to the process as well. So for HDB, if you want to sell, you always need to apply for your intent to sell, okay? And then you are given 7 days, which is a cooling off period, and then you can issue your OTP. if you do want to purchase, okay, you will need to go onto HDB to apply for your HFE. Okay, the long form for that, I forgot what's the long form for that. HDB financial eligibility, is it? Something like that, HFE, okay? So you do need to apply for HFE. That is valid for 6 months, okay? So that's that, all right? So with an OTP, okay, once you issue your OTP already, of course you get $1,000 in exchange from the buyer. Okay, and then within 21 days, that's 3 weeks, you will have to exercise the option. Okay, and then the buyer in exchange will give you another $4,000. So this $5,000, that will make up your option exercise fee lah. Okay, and then on your OTP itself, you will have to discuss seller buyer, right? You all will have to discuss your submission period. So it can be 30 days up to 60 days, even shorter than 30 days, up to you. All right, and then once with that, within that 30-day submission period, you have to submit your HDB application. All right, within these 4 weeks from submission, that is usually when you will get HDB acceptance in the form of a SMS. Okay, this SMS will state whether it's been approved or not, and also your completion date. All right, so this is usually once you get an SMS, within 8 weeks from then, 8 weeks, then you will get your completion date already. Okay, and then depends whether you have extension or not, then that is when you will move out lah and hand over the unit and whatnot. Okay, so also just note from completion, right, to when you get back your CPF, okay, this will usually be about 3 weeks or so. Okay, so this was the timeline on the sales side. But remember, we also have a buy side, okay? So this is when things may sometimes get a little bit confusing, a little bit complicated when you're doing a concurrent sell and buy. Because then you would have to, first you have to manage the timeline, and then you also have to manage your finances, right? Because sometimes, in this case study, they needed the funds from the sale in order to proceed with the buy side. Okay, so that was what we needed to manage.
So the most important thing when it comes to this, where you need the funds from one side to the other side, the most important thing for HDB would be the completion.
Yeah.
Because that's where the funds come out and the CPF comes out. CPF out 3 weeks after the...
Show both sides, I think.
Yeah. It's okay, because if you zoom
Can,
out, we cannot really see. So just zoom in and
Zoom
make
in,
the figures bigger.
Okay.
Right? So the most important thing, make it bigger somehow.
Yeah.
If not, they cannot see.
Okay.
Yep. So most important thing always is to see completion when you are looking at HDB, if you need the funds from one side to another side. Right? And also if you go from HDB to HDB, especially if you are taking a HDB loan, do note that you will need to put aside, like what Kim say, right? 50% of your cash proceeds to lower down the loan for your other HDB ones, right? Some of this very, very technical stuff lah. So best to check with an expert if you want to pull off something like that. Okay? Important completion. This is from HDB to HDB. You don't have to care so much about exercise. Okay? Because there's no ABSD involved. You can't hold 2 HDB flats at any point in time. So there's no ABSD if you exercise one side before another side. Right? If you don't need the funds from the buy side for this, you could always buy it earlier. That's also totally okay. But of course, then you need to sell your house in time and whatnot lah, right? So for this particular client, we wanted to play it safe. They wanted to play it safe, so we only buy after we manage to sell the house. Right? And it's also because initially we had some concerns about the condition of their house lah. Right? But in some cases, we are confident and we say, hey, you can always buy first, especially if you are looking at areas where supply is very, very limited. You can potentially buy it first. Okay? So that is the first thing lah, right? I think Kim is going to highlight what is the most important thing. So on the top part is about the same.
Yeah.
Right? On the top part is about the same. Right? If you want to do contra, then the most important thing to match is the submission period. Your submission period have to overlap from one another, right? So we won't go into the technicalities of contra today. Very, very complicated. But yeah, so if you have questions on that, you could still put it down. Then we'll answer them. So yeah, maybe Kim, you just
Yeah.
finish off on the more important
Yeah.
parts.
Okay. So I just go back to the sales side over here. Okay. So the important thing lah, right? If you're doing a concurrent, pretty much back to back, okay, is that you will need to engage a private lawyer instead of a HDB lawyer. Again, it's more technical stuff as well, but basically the private lawyer is then able to get CPF to draw down on the CPF funds to use it for your purchase side. Okay, if it's a HDB lawyer, then the timeline is a little bit mismatched already. All right, okay. And then, so what was the thing that they had to give up on in order to get that 740,000 purchase price? Okay, so if you see over here, okay, their completion for their sale was on the 5th of April. And their extension, so they had the place until the 4th of July, right? So they could stay there until the 4th of July. Completion was the 2nd of May. So actually, if they managed to get the keys on the 2nd of May to the 4th of July, they would have 2 months lah, where they can reno and whatnot and all that sort of thing. But in order to get that $740,000 purchase price, okay, they actually granted the sellers for their purchase an extension, a 3-month extension. So end up, they only got keys to their new place on the 1st of August. So in between, there was a little bit of a 1-month period, right, where they had no place to stay. So that was their sacrifice lah. Very thankfully, these clients of ours, they had the option of moving back to their parents' place, okay? And so that was what they did, right? A little bit of sacrifice on their part in terms of time and also inconvenience, right? Because there's definitely a bit of inconvenience having to move twice, but that was something that they were willing to accept in order to get that lower price, which on hindsight is very good because as what we saw, right, that 740,000 is way below the median price of an executive in Jurong West at $850,000.
So, how? Let me just to wrap up the whole discussion, right? On especially on this particular parts, like it's always important to know what are your alternatives, right? So we always ask clients, right? Is moving back to your parents an option, right? So, like I boil everything down to time versus money, time versus money. So if you have the flexibility versus money, whoever has flexibility is the one that can either save more money or make more money, right? So remember, the more flexibility you have, the better it is, right? The more rigid or the more sticky you are, don't want to move twice. I want everything to match perfectly. There is a likely chance you either have to pay more because when in this chain of transactions, somebody will be the flexible one, and that person will be the one that charge more. Okay, you just pay me enough, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. And in the end of the day, our client was the one that was ready, was prepared to do that lah, right? He was prepared to say, okay, I give you the time, I suck it up, but I want this price. And they managed to get it, right? So it's important really to understand and how to get the most out of your planning in your moves is to explore your options. I would suggest don't say no to anything. Yeah, don't say no to anything. Keep all options open on the table, and then it's going to be easier to match everything up. Don't have overly rigid expectations and whatnot. Of course, if things are really very tough to move around, then okay, then at least you accept it. Then the one thing that has to give is probably sell for a bit less and buy for a bit more lah. If you have the money, of course, then that can solve everything lah at the end of the day. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of the case study. Let me answer the question that we have.
While Alvin is looking at that, okay, if you guys have enjoyed today's session, please do help us like and share. We would really appreciate your support. Okay?
Yep. And also give us motivation to continue doing this on a weekly way. Hopefully we can put this off on a weekly basis. Okay?
Yes.
Right, so for Catherine, right, which condo project is potential now for 1.2 million? How many bedrooms do you need? Should we take a bank loan? To what extent and how many % total should we take a bank loan? Which bank offers a good rate right now? I believe the rate at 1.2 mil should likely, I believe, be at 2.3%. Most banks can cover that at this point in time lah. If you have limited down payment, then go for the 75% loan. Okay. Yeah, 1.2 million. You need to let me know how many bedrooms. If you need 3, I assume let's say you need 3 bedrooms, options are very, very limited. You likely will need to go to Woodlands or Tampines, and you will likely have to be something that is a lot, quite a fair bit older in the lease, right? But is that going to be a deal breaker? The answer is no. Once you reach the lowest hanging fruit, there's a whole idea of rising tides bring up all boats lah. Right, so it's just that all the cheap ones, right, their price will still go up despite their lease, because these are the ones that new PRs, or those with limited budget, those that just want to get out of a HDB, they will be purchasing. Yeah. So if you look across the board, all these old 99 years, they all have actually seen pretty decent bump up in prices over the years, right? So in general, at 1.2 million, I would suggest looking at something that is a little bit older in the lease. It gives you bang for your buck in terms of size, and I don't think you have to worry over too much about depreciating lease. I won't cover that topic today, but if you can check out some of the videos that we have done over the years. For example, right, if you search on our video, I was debunking the myths on depreciating lease of 99-year assets. Okay, yep. What are the key drivers that will lead to property appreciation in the next 3 to 5 years? When is the best time to buy in current market conditions? If you're looking to buy private, I mentioned that a little bit earlier in the video. The one chart the one chart really to look at, the chart to rule all charts, like the ring to rule all rings. It's this one, the simplest one.
Wait, cannot see yet.
The simplest one to reference, it's the MOP chart, right? I did a video also earlier. I can't recall which video. Maybe David can help me out and put the link in YouTube. It's the video about the correlation of the data points. I believe it's my predictions video. So what I did over there was to put a lot of data points together and find the one that has the strongest correlation to property price increases. And MOP numbers have a very, very strong correlation. So if you can see over here, this year, the number of MOP is very low, right? Less than 8,000 at 7,450. What this means for private prices is that it will remain subdued, right? Because of a lack of upgraders. Okay, because private on a year-to-year, if you look at volume of transactions, is there about the same one. But the extra demand that comes in tends to be the delta year-on-year on the MOP numbers, and that drives prices. Up, right? So MOP supply, as simply as I can put it, MOP supply equates to private demand. MOP supply equates to private demand, and so we are forcing a uptick over here in terms of MOP supply. Right? If you look at a private EOP supply, this comes down. This actually comes down and kind of picks up slightly over here. We're going to see a bottoming in 2025 and 2026. So I feel there's a demand-supply imbalance over there. So short and sweet answer for Catherine, best time to enter, I believe, is honestly, right, 2025. Yeah, 2025. Try not to wait for 2026, especially if you're telling me your budget hovers around the $1.2 million mark. If you want 2 or 3 bedders and above. 1 bedder, we have plenty of options. Yeah. Do we have any other questions on any other platforms? Feel free to drop them before we end. If not, right, feel free to text us on this here, the number over here, right? TikTok don't have. Okay, come. So for those of you on TikTok,
can see
over here, right? Drop us a text. If not, join us on Tuesday at 9 o'clock for the next round of our live. Right, so weekly we try to cover HDB, and on my part, I hope to also cover on other live sessions, more on the private side to things, right? Hopefully drive a bit more, push myself a little bit to do more content. If not, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.